The 5 stages of grief model, or the Kübler-Ross model, is popularly known as a model that describes a series of emotions experienced by people who are grieving: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. In actuality, Kübler-Ross model was based on people who are dying rather than grieving, although commonly referenced in popular culture. Studies have not empirically demonstrated the existence of these stages, and the model has been considered by some to be outdated and unhelpful in explaining the grieving process. The model was introduced by Swiss-American psychiatrist Elisabeth Kübler-Ross in her 1969 book on death and dying, and was inspired by her work with terminally ill patients, motivated by the lack of instruction in medical schools on the subject of death and dying. Kübler-Ross examined death and those faced with it at the University of Chicago's medical school. Kübler-Ross's project evolved into a series of seminars which, along with patient interviews and previous research, became the foundation for her book. Although Kübler-Ross is commonly credited with creating stage models, earlier bereavement theorists and clinicians such as Eric Lindemann, Colin Murray Parks, and John Bowlby used similar models of stages of phases as early as the 1940s. In her book, Kübler-Ross states that the medical advancements of the time were the mark of change for the way people perceive and experience death. Due to this, pediatricians have been seeing fewer life-threatening ailments for their patients compared to 100 years ago. Kübler-Ross later noted that the stages are not a linear and predictable progression, and that she regretted writing them in a way that was misunderstood. Kübler-Ross originally saw these stages as reflecting how people cope with illness and dying, observed grief researcher Kenneth J. Doka, not as reflections of how people grieve. Kübler-Ross originally developed stages to describe the process patients with terminal illness go through as they come to terms with their own deaths. It was later applied to grieving friends and family as well, who seem to undergo a similar process. The stages, popularly known by the acronym DABDA, include denial. The first reaction is denial. In this stage, individuals believe the diagnosis is somehow mistaken and cling to a false, preferable reality. Some may also isolate themselves, avoiding others who may have accepted what is happening. This stage is usually a temporary defense, so long as the person has adequate time to move amongst the stages as they contemplate death. In her book, Kübler-Ross states that technological advancements have caused people to become fearful of violent, painful deaths. Therefore, in order to protect the psychological mind, they deny the reality of their own inevitable death. Anger. When the individual recognizes that denial cannot continue, they become frustrated, especially at proximate individuals. Certain psychological responses of a person undergoing this phase would be, "Why me? It's not fair. How can this happen to me? Who is to blame? Why would this happen?" Some may lash out at loved ones, medical staff, and other family. In Kübler-Ross's other book, Questions and Answers on Death and Dying, she emphasizes the need for people to do their best to let those who are in this stage feel their feelings and try not to take the anger personally. Bargaining. The third stage involves the hope that the individual can avoid a cause of grief. Usually, the negotiation for an extended life is made in exchange for a reformed lifestyle. People facing less serious trauma can bargain or seek compromise. Examples include the terminally ill person who negotiates with God to attend a daughter's wedding, an attempt to bargain for more time to live in exchange for a reformed lifestyle, or a phrase such as, "If I could trade their life for mine." Depression. I'm so sad. Why bother with anything? I'm going to die soon, so what's the point? I miss my loved one, why go on? During the fourth stage, the individual despairs at the recognition of their mortality. In this state, the individual may become silent, refuse visitors, and spend much of the time mournful and sullen. Acceptance. It's going to be okay. I can't fight it. I may as well prepare for it. In this last stage, individuals embrace mortality or inevitable future, or that of a loved one, or other tragic event. People dying may precede the survivors in this state, which typically comes with a calm, retrospective view for the individual, and a stable condition of emotions.